You're watching Inside the Zone.
Hey, welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Zone. We're already talking sectional championships here. Justin Kenny of Optimum Performance Sports, Glenn Marini, and we're already here. And I want to pat ourselves on the back.
Oh, really? Did we do something good?
Last week, people thought we were crazy to make Northrop Snyder Part 2 the game of the weekend. Oh, it just ended up being the game of the year. 17-16 at Spooler Stadium, decided in overtime. Justin, as we head forward in the playoffs, man, what kind of boost can this give to Northrop? And what do you take away from that game? Because this was a much better Snyder team, and the way they played in their last two games can give them a big boost going into the offseason to be ready for next year. Because this wasn't the year that Snyder wanted starting out, but the end, they were a much better team than we saw, because people have been banging on them all season. Give them their props for what they were able to do in the postseason.
Yep, really put a scare into Northrop right last Friday, and a lot of the credit has to go to Snyder. I think it's a very tough decision for a coach at some point of the season to really say, we have to turn the page and look ahead. And that's what Snyder eventually did, played more sophomores, went to Max Johnson at quarterback, the sophomore. That gave that offense, I think, a bit of a lift down the stretch. And so I think it was very much for the Panthers to say, what do we need to do to not only be better this season, but maybe more importantly, get some key dudes, some key experience on Friday nights heading into 2026. That's what they did. And then the payoff was looking a lot better with that come-from-behind victory in Week 9, and then really, really terrifying Bruin Nation on Friday.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of the highlights from last Friday at Spooler Stadium. So kudos to Snyder for turning things around. They got some young guys that I really like, and you were mentioning how they decided, okay, let's play some of the young guys and see what we got, and it's going to bode well, I think, for next season. But for Northrop, they dominated Snyder in the regular season. How much of a, I don't want to say wake-up call, but like, if you're Northrop, you didn't think it was going to be that close. You think, okay, we're going to go in, we're going to blow them out again. But is that a good thing heading into the Carroll game? Because this is a Northrop team that definitely got woken up, and they could have had their season ended very easily on Friday night. Paisoon comes through with that big field goal, 37-yarder, with about 15 seconds left to send it into overtime. I mean, things could have gone very badly in overtime. They didn't. Credit to them. But if you're Northrop, it's like smelling salts. You're like, boom, we got to be on it from snap number 1 next week.
Yeah, and scoring that touchdown on 4th down in overtime, right, and kicking the extra point to prove to be the game winner. It's very tough with teenagers, and even in college, is once you beat a team once in this regular season and you play them again, how tough it can be to command their respect, to be ready for that team, especially when they own Snyder round 1. I mean, that was very much dominated by Northrop. So it's very difficult when you come in, your rival, right? You took care of business the first time. You think you're going to go in and roll them, and we saw what happened. But it is definitely a wake-up call for Northrop. But once again, the Bruins had to execute late in key moments. We've seen that time and time and time again this season. It's a different Northrop team, as we've said countless times. But also, it's a lesson last Friday that the playoffs are different. You better show up each and every week.
And you take a look at what Snyder did in the regular season. Quay Guilford had 3 touchdowns, 2 over 40 yards in that first time around. He did get an early touchdown on this one, but other than moving the ball on that last drive to get the field goal, they held him fairly well in check for what Quay is used to. So other guys had to step up, and as you see right there, Maddox Weil with a huge catch. So knowing that everybody's going to be trying to take Quay away, how much more pressure does that put on David Callis and Maddox Weil, maybe even Barnes at tight end, some of the running backs that they have to make plays and make sure that this offense can continue to score? Because Carroll scores a lot of points, and 17 points counting an overtime touchdown may not get it done against the Chargers.
No, and it's the big question, I think, for both sides going into Friday, because they both gave up a decent amount of points to each other in that first matchup. What was it, 48-37, I want to say, with Carroll getting that win over Northrop. So both teams' defenses have some things to do better in round 2, because with the wide receivers that both teams can employ and the quarterbacks that both teams can employ, with Gabe Freising on the other side, are we going to see another matchup where it's touchdown for touchdown, or could we see maybe a game that we saw like last Friday where Northrop had to eke out a 1-point win, 17-16?
All right, well, we had a chance to catch up with the Bruins after that victory on Friday night at Spooler Stadium, and here's what Northrop had to say.
Man, huge game, going to overtime. just toe for toe in this one. Kind of what are your first emotions, after a win like this?
Really just not being too high and not being too low. Knowing we could do again, just capitalizing. We had some mistakes and stuff like that. We're going to clean up, of course, go on film and watch film. But I think all around we did a great job.
Yeah, and even just listening to the fans in the stands, I just hear, throw the ball to two, throw the ball to two, find him wherever that is. Kind of, what's your mindset going like that? They can look to you and depend on a catch there. Kind of, what is your mindset behind that?
Just when the ball's in my hands, just make the play. And if David trusts me, I trust David, and the whole team trusts me as well as the fans, as well as everybody. So when the ball's in my hands, just make a man miss and do what I got to do.
Yeah. And just kind of how proud are you of this team? Hugs, just screams, excitement after this. How proud are you of these guys to continue to fighting till the end of the game? Never giving up on this one. What's that like?
I'm very proud of our defense, of our offense. We kept fighting, like you said, and really, I'm just so proud. I can't wait to get in and celebrate with the guys.
Yeah. Well, huge game for you, but just a huge game for the Bruins today, right? I mean, you guys are going toe-to-toe to overtime. How exciting is this for you?
It's very exciting. I really worked my way to it, and I've done it with my team, my holder. I really want to thank my coach, everybody, just helping me all my way through it, and yeah, really proud of myself for it.
And how proud of this team are you? Everybody's fighting. You never see a give up in that moment. Kind of what is this being a part of this team like to you?
It feels amazing, everybody supports each other. We always keep our heads up, and if something's going wrong, we always try our best to make it back up. So yeah.
We get to live to see another day. We get to fight on to sectional championship now. So.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people might not give kickers a lot of credit, but in this one really absolutely pulled you guys through. What can you say about his performance tonight?
Oh, it was a great performance by our kicker. He's only a sophomore. I mean, he did a great job.
And really, what else do you feel like you guys did really well today to pull this one out?
I mean, we just battled, very battle tested. After having 2 weeks off, we had to fight. This was a game where you had to fight two great 6A teams.
Yeah. And I know, a little slower first half. What was your kind of message to them in the second half? Hey, we got to come out, find some momentum. What was that message in the half?
It was basically, hey, keep fighting. The fight is on.
Okay, so Northrop's got a sectional championship game on the docket against Carroll. How do you see this one playing out, and why will this game be different, and what could be different in this second matchup than that Week 8 game where it was 48-37? We're going to keep the yellow flags in our pants for this one. That was
that game just ended, I believe.
Yeah, but how can this game be different for Northrop, and what do you think will be different? Because as we've already talked about, things are different when it comes to the postseason.
It's always tough as a coaching staff when you play a team and you look at what went right and what went wrong the first time. And you say, what do we change? What don't we change? And offensively, for both teams, you have to feel pretty good about what went right. Defensively, what do you do? Are there different ways you can defend Jerquaden Guilford? Are there different ways you can defend Jaden Van Pelt? And I don't know if there are, but maybe it comes down. We mentioned this last week in a couple matchups. Is can teams get defensive pressure up front on Gabe Freisinger and David Callison? And maybe that's the difference. And it could come down like the first game with these teams. One stop could be all you need, right? Mm-hmm. One turnover could be all you need. And we'll see what happens the second time around. But I think both teams took lessons out of that first regular season matchup.
And I'll say this, Carroll came to play in these sectionals against Elkhart. That was a pretty solid Elkhart team. They go up there and they're up 28-0 after the first quarter, get a few turnovers, and just absolutely put the hammer down in the first 12 minutes. So while Northrop was a little slower to start against Snyder, Carroll was the exact opposite. I mean, they began this postseason with a bang.
They did, and they have had plenty of success over the last several years in the playoffs, right? That's what's new for Northrop, right? They had to learn how to win in the regular season. Learning to win in the postseason is completely different. And the hope, if you're a Northrop fan, is, okay, we shook off the jitters, the rust, whatever you want to call it in the first time around, because if they play like they did against Snyder, against Carroll, that game's not going to be close.
And what are you most looking forward to about this game? Because we were talking kind of there in the break as the sound was going on. If Carroll wins, we've seen them make the state championship against Center Grove not too many years ago. But if Northrop wins, this is huge for the Bruins.
It absolutely is. It gives them hardware to show off that really substantiates this season going forward. In 10 years, you can look back at, there's the sectional trophy that we won back in 2025. It means a big deal for every school, but when you have a team that's traditionally struggled, and it's been so long since they won a sectional championship, like 1989, I want to say, something like that, it means it means more, I guess. And it'd be really cool to see Northam. Not saying that it wouldn't be great if Carroll wins, but we like to shake it up around here. Get some different teams winning something for a change.
Speaking of different teams maybe winning in the postseason, let's talk a little bit about 5A right now.
Yep.
Northside goes to Goshen, wins 41-0, but it was only 6-zip at the half. That one, which was a little bit of a shocker there. Concord takes care of Warsaw. These two teams played last year 38-21 in the first round of sectionals, Concord winning. And Concord, I mean, they have some unfinished business because they thought they had a state championship level team last season, and they want to tear it up in this postseason. And it was a good start with what they did against Warsaw last week.
They did, and I think Warsaw held around for a little bit longer than the first time around when they played in the regular season, but eventually Concord got the win. Northside, they go on the road. It's always difficult to go on the road in the playoffs, but Goshen was a team they were expected to beat, and it took a little bit, right? Scoreless after one. You mentioned 6-0 at half, and then Northside started to turn it on. The problem or the key for the Legends on Friday, you can't start slow against Concord, right? That's a team that is going to grind you down with their running game. They're going to attack you with the passing game. Defensively, they're very fundamentally sound, and Northside cannot come out flat like they did against Goshen.
I'm glad you said that because I told our photographer Adam Solarzik, who entered this game, I go, Northside's going to do one of two things. Either they're going to come out and it's going to be 28-0 at half, or they're going to come out and it's going to be like 3-0 at half.
Right.
And I wanted to see that killer instinct because they should have just pounded Goshen last Friday. The fact that it's 6-0, they win 41-0, but you wanted to see, especially coming off that Snyder loss, where they were leading that game at halftime and Snyder came from behind at Chambers Field. You wanted to see Northside come out and smack them and think, okay, this team does have a chance because you have Malik Moore, you have Jaden Rivers, you have the big tight end, you have a number of talented guys. And we saw it in the second half, but you would have liked to see them put that game away and just show that killer instinct from the get-go. Yeah,
it's a great point. And then you go into Friday and you say, okay, can that second half momentum continue into Friday night? Or are you going to come out back at 0 and try to build up from there? Because while you could afford a slow start against Goshen, you can't against Concord. You can find yourself down 14-0 after 5 minutes, and it's a wrap already, right? So Northside has to come out. They don't necessarily have to play aggressive, but they have to be locked in from the jump against a team like that.
4A, East Noble, Dwenger, Sectional 19. It's kind of been one of the games we've been looking forward to all season since the draw came out, right? So what do you see as this ball game? We've seen them in the postseason last year was 38-0, East Noble winning that one. So what's different about these two teams this time around?
Well, it's almost like unstoppable force against a movable object, isn't it? You have Riley Biddle on one side. He's responsible for 61% of his team's touchdowns this year, all 5 rushing touchdowns last week for him, edging Southside. And then meanwhile, you have Bishop Dwenger that has shut down Leo and Columbia City in back-to-back weeks, a total of 7 points in 2 weeks against NE8 foes. Now the Saints take on the champion of the NE8s, champion versus champion. So how does Riley Biddle and that East Noble offense do against the best defense in the area, regardless of class? That's the big story heading into Friday.
How concerned are you? We talked about how Southside was an improved team, and it might not show on the record, but East Noble would agree with that.
Right.
How concerned are you that it's a 35-28 game? They need Riley Biddle to score a touchdown late in the fourth quarter to beat a Southside team that record-wise didn't have the year perhaps that they would have liked. I mean, does that concern you at all? Or what's the takeaway from that? Because it happened against DeKalb earlier in the season where it was tighter than you thought. DeKalb ended up being a much better team than we anticipated. But
Well, I think you look at it casually and you say, okay, you played an SAC school and you struggled. And no disrespect to Wayne and Snyder, the first 2 opponents for East Noble in the beginning of the season. But those 2 teams finished towards the bottom of the standings in the SAC. You should have beaten them comfortably. And then you come back and you have Southside in the playoffs, right? And that game was a little bit too close for comfort. And now you're going from one opposite to the other where you're playing the champion of the SAC. So, look, if these teams are giving you trouble, what's going to happen when you play Dwenger? That's kind of the simpleton's argument. It's not always that easy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, sometimes you look at that and say, oh, wow. And now you have to face a defense as good as Bishop Dwenger. Riley Biddle, he's been on his game all season long. He may have to win this thing single-handedly, which he did last week almost against Southside. Another week like that, they got a shot.
Lucky for us, I am a simpleton, so it makes it easy for me.
I've been called worse at home.
Haven't we all? Let's talk about Garrett at Angola, because a lot of people said this was West Noble's sectional to win at the beginning, and Angola goes and takes on West Noble at West Noble, beats them 21-20. That defense kind of bending, not breaking in the postseason. We saw it against Tippy Valley a couple weeks ago. We saw it against West Noble last week. And Garrett, we talked about how at the beginning of the season they had kind of struggled to get their feet under them. And yet here they are playing for a sectional championship again.
It's cool to see with Garrett because, Chris Albertine takes over, and a lot of people were like, well, yeah, we lose this, but look what we have coming back. When losing guys like Calder Hefty are generational type players in your program, and you had several of those last year, it's difficult to rebound quickly from that at a place like Garrett. And then you have a new coach, and they just use the regular season kind of feeling out process. Now they're playing for a sectional championship, and meanwhile, Angola, one week they go out and beat Tippy Valley, then you're like, all right, that was fun, but now they have to go to West Noble. They knock off the Chargers, and now it's almost like, can you bet against Angola, in particular Hawk Hasselman with all 3 touchdowns and extra points last Friday.
And Angola won this 14-11 in the regular season, and it's going to be at Angola. All of a sudden, Angola is the favorite to win this sectional, I would think.
Which is wild because, as you mentioned, we all kind of looked at West Noble as that team that could potentially win their first ever sectional championship. Instead, now you almost look at it and say, okay, what does Angola have left, right? They had to go out and beat a borderline top 10 team in Tippecanoe Valley. Had to do the same thing against West Noble. Did they have enough against what you could say would be the easiest game in the sectional for them? But that game was close the first time around. Garrett is going to change up some things to try to close the gap.
Alex Thomas and Niles Knox and some of the guys that maybe aren't on the highlights all the time really making a big difference in the trenches and doing different things for this Angola team. So, yeah, it should be a good time up at the Hornet Hive on Friday night. Let's talk about 3A. Lures at Mississinewa. This is one of the more intriguing games, I think, in the area because we don't know that much about Mississinewa, but every year they continue to put up good records. They've played well, obviously, scored a bunch of points against Jay County last week. So how do you see this one playing out? Because Lures and Mississinewa are not strangers. They played last year with Lures winning that one 34-28, but this is not the same Lures team perhaps that we saw last year.
No, it's not, and it's a different Ole Miss team as well, but they've been really good this season. And if you look at Bishop Lures, is this team ready to go on the road in the playoffs and beat a really good football team? I mean, they went to Delta in the first week of the playoffs and got that win. Delta's kind of down this year, right? So now you go to Gas City, take on Mississinewa. Can that offense that's looked pretty good the last couple weeks, can it travel? Can Thomas Reichert have another really fine game and limit those mistakes behind center? Can they move the ball on the ground with Brandon Gaither and TJ Epperson, right? And then defensively, can they slow down that running game that's really, really tough? Ole Miss puts a lot of big dudes up front, and they did last year. They'll do against this year. It was close last year, and that was a Lures team that went to state. I think right now, is Lures the underdog going on the road?
Yeah. How many times can you say that in the postseason?
Not very often, right?
No. And some of this excitement for this Lures team is partly on the coaching staff. They got a bunch of guys that are fun to be around. You got Kyle Lindsay and a bunch of different dudes. But one of the guys we had a chance to talk to and feature is a guy named Zach Call, one of the assistants. I know you texted me about this story as well.
Yeah.
And if I recharged my brain, I was like, that's right, we got to get around and get to this. So Zach Call, not only do you hear his work on Friday nights, you hear it anytime the WWE and some of their stars go out there and take the ring. Here is Josh Ayen's story on assistant coach Zach Call of the Bishop Lures Knights.
Same thing, Rory. You remember what to do. I'm not talking anymore. Do it right.
So I came on initially as a strength and conditioning coach, and one of the coaches that I used to coach, Jaden Hill, he dubbed me Juice. So since 2021, I've been Juice to the staff.
For 5 seasons, Zach Call's been bringing the juice to Lures Field. Part of the defensive coaching staff, Call is embracing his role in keeping Lures defense locked in on every snap.
I think it's really easy to show up with energy, even if you don't want to do something. If you show up with a little bit of energy, sometimes it can make the process and the goal a little bit easier, and you find out, hey, if I show up with a little bit of enthusiasm, this stuff gets a little bit easier.
Pumper time!
When Call is not roaming the sidelines at Lures Field, he's trading in the headset for a mic. Carl happens to be the lead singer for a Fort Wayne-based band, Downstate.
My brother and I grew up in the business. We were just around it forever. We had natural abilities with it. We were just blessed with a whole bunch of people in about 7th grade that were musically inclined, and we were able to start writing, creating, and performing a lot of rock and roll early on and realize, hey, maybe we're pretty good at this.
Hundreds of thousands of fans think Downstate is pretty good too. Thanks to some connections, the band has produced music for WWE icons like The Miz and undisputed champion Cody Rhodes. Adrenaline in my soul, every fight out of control. Rhodes' theme song Kingdom has over 81 million plays on Spotify.
If I couldn't be a professional athlete or a musician, I wanted to be a wrestler. So I'm a humongous wrestling fan. Being involved in the wrestling community, they're super loyal, super awesome, similar to here at Lures. They are behind us 100%, and it got us into doing stuff down the road. Every once in a while, when I'm seeing The Miz still have his success, I'm like, I can't believe that we did that when we were just out of high school, right down the road here at Southside. I'm graduating, I'm on a tour bus, and then shortly, within a year, I'm writing a song for WWE.
I came to play.
The band, my brother and Sean, they are brothers. Isaiah's a brother. Great support, takes a village, and I'm a product of that, and I'm hoping I'm passing that on when I deal with a lot of troublemakers day to day, and I see a lot of me in them. So I'm able to do it because I see a lot of me, and I was given a lot of chances, and I wake up every day and say I'm going to give somebody a chance today. So that's what gets me out of bed.
Oh man, 81 million views, second only
That's what
on
you said.
Spotify to Inside the Zone. Pretty impressive.
He is closing the gap, though. Zach Call is closing the gap, not steadily, because but
obviously after this week we're going to be blowing them out. But Lures obviously hoping for a blowout against Mississinawa, so maybe it is fitting. Moving on to 2A now. Eastside at Adams Central. This is a really intriguing matchup. I thought Eastside was going to get challenged by Manchester last week. Joe Richmond said, no, it's not going to happen. They went vertical in that game quite a bit.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that interests me about this game against Adams Central is you take a look at, some of these 2A teams that don't throw the football a whole lot. You think, it's going to be a big change when they face a team that does. Well, for Adams Central, they've handled Bluffton twice.
Yeah.
They throw the ball. They handled South Adams, who throws the ball.
Yes.
So this isn't going to be a big surprise for Adams Central when they face an offense that can go to the air like Eastside can, even though Joe Richmond has been an absolute terror on the ground as well.
He absolutely has. Noah Dove had another really big game on Friday night. So Job's been phenomenal and still coming back next year. I think he's a junior. So that'll be huge news and big for Eastside. But it's just so tough to stay close against Adams Central. I thought Bluffton played a lot better game the second time around than the first time around against Adams Central. And yet they still lose by double digits, right?
Yeah, 3 touchdowns.
And that's the thing is so Eastside, you need to force Adams Central into some uncharacteristic mistakes, right? And they just seemingly never do. I mean, you create some turnovers, have them put the ball on the ground a couple times. Eastside, you're playing with house money, right? Go out there, maybe try an onside kick or two, a fake punt, whatever you need to do to try to keep this game close and probably keep the ball away from Adams Central. Limit those possessions any way you can.
It's funny that you say onside kick because Bluffton onside kicked it at halftime. Unfortunately, they didn't recover, and then Adams Central goes down and scores. But those are some of the things you need to go right against this Adams Central team that we've just kind of run out of ways to describe the way that they continue to roll as far as regular season and postseason games go.
There's a part of me that if I'm playing Adams Central, unless it is 4th and forever, I'm not punting.
Yeah. Don't give them the ball.
If it's 4th and 5, it's 4th and 4, it's 4th and 6, I'm going for it every time. Because the alternative is they just get the ball and for 8 minutes they go down the field and they score and then you get it and you wasted 8 minutes and you're down another touchdown. You have to play so out of your comfort zone to have a chance to beat Adams Central when they're on, because they're seemingly always on, right? So that's the challenge for the Blazers. If you're Coach Brandewy, for me, I'm like, I ain't punting. Punt and punter, you can go sit down. We're not using the entire game.
Yeah,
We're not doing it.
Shine the shoes, get it ready for next week.
I mean, you can go. You have, like you said, you have a vertical passing game, so it's not like you're run dominant. So on 4th and medium, 4th and long, you have no chance to pick it up. Joe can throw, so anytime it's 4th and 10 or below, I'm going for it.
All right, we had a chance to talk to Adams Central after the win against Bluffton, and here's what the Jets had to say.
Feels great. Now I'm gonna take it in for tonight, and then next week we start on next week, and we work hard, and we're coming out and ready to beat Eastside.
What did the team do really well here?
Our defense really stepped it up this game on their high-powered offense. We shut them down, slowed down the game, and we grinded it on offense and ran out the clock.
What's something you think the team can work on moving forward?
Our team we need to work on everything. We're not perfect. We can always be better at everything in every aspect.
Feels good, it was a good team. We beat a really good team, and we're moving on, and that's all that matters at this point.
What did your team do really well here today?
I think we had a couple plays. They had to fight through adversity. We just kept fighting and fighting, didn't back down, didn't give up. So, we just kept fighting and came out with the win.
What's some things you think the team can work on moving forward?
We could just, pick up some intensity at some points. We have a pretty overall intense team, but just intensity at some points and really not much. Just keep fighting, and as long as we're getting the win, it's not much to really downgrade. So.
Well, it feels really good. Very hard to beat a team twice in a season, let alone a very good team as Bluffton has. Kudos to them and their plan. They had a great defensive plan. They really made us work really hard, and our guys were finally able to execute in the second half and kind of pulled away. But it was a tight game throughout, and it feels good to be able to come out on top. Anytime you can get a win in the postseason is a good thing. And now we'll enjoy this for a little bit, and then we'll start preparing for next week.
What's some things you think the team did really well here tonight?
Well, I think they really fought hard. I thought defensively our guys played extremely well. We held them offensively to 1 touchdown. They got another touchdown on special teams kickoff. So I thought they did a super job of being physical, of executing the game plan. Offensively, I thought we were efficient. We messed up a few times, but I thought for the most part we were pretty efficient. I was really proud of them.
Fremont has worked on everything, it appears. 8 wins. We're talking 1A football now as they head to North Miami. What can you say about this matchup? Because you feel good for Trevor Thomas and Fremont. You take a look at this team. They got 2 guys that have run for almost 1,000 yards this season. They can throw it as well.
Yeah.
What is it about Fremont? And historically, this is one of their better teams that we've seen in the last 2-3 decades.
Yeah, most wins since 2001, I want to say, for Fremont with the 8 victories. And, this felt like a game last week that okay, this may be the end of the line. And you take care of a tri-team that beat North Miami, if I'm not mistaken, in the regular season. So at this point, you're playing with house money at this point with Fremont, and it's a great story, and it's the team that is still looking for a sectional championship. I think it's ever won a sectional championship, and like we talked with Northrop, this is what makes the postseason fun. Mm-hmm. You sometimes take the Lures and the Snyders and the Dwangers and Adams Centrals for granted, but when you have Fremont playing for a sectional championship, come on, what's not to like?
We love this every Friday, in the postseason when you never know what's going to happen in Fremont. Certainly a tip of the cap to the season that they've had. Hopefully they can take it down to North Miami and get a victory. Our last game to talk about, Hagerstown at South Adams. It feels like the rest of the state is finally coming around on South Adams, not because of the ranking, but John Harrells now gives them a 26% chance to win the 1A state title. That is tops in the state in 1A, and he, of course, uses Sagarin, throws out, a bunch of different things. It is an eye test. It is based on the numbers, and South Adams, man, a little sloppy with a couple of bad snaps last week early in the game, but man, they ended up taking care of business on the road last Friday night.
But here's the problem: when your 3 losses are to Adams Central, who's not in your class, Bluffton's not in your class, and Marion Local's not in your state, you feel pretty good going into the 1A playoffs if you're South Adams. And we've said it time and time again with the Starfires, is the way they play offensively is so difficult to match up for defenses in 1A because of the amount of playmakers they can employ, right? With Wes Somerset and Derek McKean and guys like that, is every team has a dude, maybe two dudes, but South Adams consistently has 3, 4, 5 guys that can really challenge a 1A defense, and it worked last Friday, and I think it's going to be more of the same this week. Yeah, 1A defense has not held them under 40 points all season long. That's going to be tough, and of course, we're going to have it all covered for you next Monday on Inside the Zone. For Justin, I'm Glenn, and we'll see you next week.
You're watching Inside the Zone.